Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center on this Monday, tracking a really nasty storm right now in the Cross Creek area of Alachua County. This is one severe thunderstorm warning in play for parts of our area until 5:15. We've even seen some rotation within the Doppler radar algorithms with this. No tornado warning yet, but there is a tornado possible tag on this storm, so got to be really careful. And that is a very just nasty signature overall with that black showing up within the radar echoes here east of Micanopy, east of Interstate 75 right now. This is a nasty storm, one of the nastier ones we might see all summer here if the radar is reading things right. I know we're a little further away, but if this is actually reaching the surface here, what we're seeing within the radar algorithms, this could definitely be one of the nastier storms we're going to see all summertime period long per se. I know technically you could say it's not summer based on some different factors, but Weather Service is now telling us this storm is continuing to intensify here in southeastern Alachua County between I-75 and US 301 in that Cross Creek area with hail up to 1.25 inches in diameter here and 60-mile-an-hour winds. So really nasty storm here in Alachua County. Right now it's headed there, as you can tell, down toward the south and west at about 10 miles an hour, but right there around County Road 346. This looks very nasty right now east of Micanopy. The rotation has started to wane a little bit, which is good, but it could be bringing that wind down to the surface here for sure. This is looking not good here within the Doppler radar algorithms right now as we're looking there. You see Micanopy, you see Lockaloosa here. You just saw the radar scan kind of saw a little bit of weakening now. So maybe it's done building up its intensity and now it's weakening down a little bit, but it's still possible even though that rotation was relenting there, we could get a burst of wind down toward the surface. You never know here. You see McIntosh in here as well, in toward the Alachua Marion County line area. So a storm I don't like here within the Doppler algorithms. I'm generally treating these storms not quite as severely per se in terms of ramping up the coverage for this type of accident when we're in a little less populated area. But this storm really had that look to it here with all of our different algorithms, and it still does to some extent. It could be right now producing some of that larger hail we were seeing within the Doppler around Cross Creek in Alachua County at the present time. This is a dangerous storm. I do think it's starting to show little bit of a weakening trend, which would be good versus it building up here. As we'll go ahead and look at our ZDR product right now, we're seeing some of that upscale growth, but it's not quite as intense here. But let's go ahead and go to another storm now. It's not as significant to me, and that's why I didn't go on for this one initially here, or kind of wrap our coverage around it. But it is a severe storm here as we get toward parts of Hamilton as well as Suwannee and Echoes counties here, as we have the potential storm there that could be producing severe parameters down toward the surface, severe conditions around Jasper, even maybe over Jasper there, moving east at about 10 miles an hour. Jasper and Suwannee Springs here, 60-mile-an-hour winds and inch-size hail possible right now. So Weather Service is now telling us that there's merging storms across eastern Hamilton and northern Columbia County and toward the Lake City area. And they're watching to maybe have to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning as the new updrafts go up there east of the current warning. We also have a storm that looks like it's growing pretty quickly here and towards southern Union County. Not severe, no advisory yet, but maybe a little bit of smaller hail mixing in around Dukes. This may be overdoing it. It's showing an inch on this product, but some of our other products aren't showing that high at this point. But around Dukes here, maybe some hail trying to mix in as well. But let me see some of our hail tracks here over the last few moments down toward the south and that storm there in southern Alachua County. I know generally we don't have that definitive of a signature in a storm that far from the radar, but it was very well defined there with what we were showing right when we were coming on there. There around the Cross Creek area in Alachua County. It's still showing hail, maybe upward of an inch in diameter here. And I mean, it definitely could be reaching the surface here as we're looking toward the east of 75. Now, Granted, we'll be looking through a lot of rain, and it wouldn't be the worst part of this, but I am going to try to pull up some of our traffic cameras. And bear in mind, this isn't going to be the worst of the storminess. The worst is east here of 75, but I'll try to pull up some cameras here in this area to kind of give you guys a visual on what's going on right now. I know sometimes when we do this, you might hear a little bit of audio drop out here. So I apologize if it's dropping out just a little bit for you guys. But let me go ahead and show you one of our camera shots right now. I do think there are big raindrops or some hail mixing in here right now. So let me go ahead and show you this here as we get towards 75 around Micanopy. You can see here we're watching things carefully in the Weather Center. I know we have all of our different things up here this afternoon, so this is just one of those traffic camera perspectives here on the Florida 511 viewpoint. You can see not near as bad maybe as what we're seeing to the east. I suspect we're going to have some reports of wind damage there around Cross Creek. I mean, that's about the most obvious signature we've seen. Granted, it's further from the radar, so maybe we're seeing higher up in the storm and it's not reaching. But if it's reaching like what we're seeing on the radar, that's one of the strongest signatures you'll see all summer here in our entire area, because that was very well defined. We were seeing some rotation, maybe even a storm that wanted to develop a quick spin up tornado. We didn't have a former tornado warning in play. Just a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. But again, we're looking there around Micanopy right now on the Florida 511 cameras. So let me go ahead and move away from that for now, though. We are starting to see a little bit of a decline. Granted, as we're looking at things, you maybe still see that black zone up on this mode, but it takes a couple minutes on this mode to analyze things. So keep that in the back of your mind, that this is starting to maybe not be quite as significant overall, but it could be putting down that wind to the surface still as it falls apart. Maybe they're still telling us here in the chat another update now that as I read this to you, the weak rotation does continue in the severe storm across southeastern Alachua County near Cross Creek, but it's not tight enough to support a tornado. But there is the inflow notch still apparent on the Jacksonville radar reflectivity pattern, which is about 6,300 feet up as I look here on my radar viewers. So again, just continuing to watch things here in Alachua County. I mean, sometimes they look like they're weighing, but we're further away. Maybe something's trying to kind of cause issues here for us in this area. We can't really see it that good. You never know. As we continue to watch the latest radar scans, I'll back this up. I mean, a few scans ago, I mean, you really saw some things trying to come into play. I was skipping between radars, watching that other storm, but this was at 441. We had an area here where we could have had winds to 60, maybe even in that rotational type of format here. Maybe something trying to get going. There's still some weak rotation in here, but not, as the Weather Service is saying, not enough to support a tornado at this point. Seems to be, again, waning to some extent here as we continue to cover it, and we're getting word they're dropping the warning now, expiring that warning out for Hamilton, Suwannee, and Eccles. So that's some good news for our friends to the north there at the present time, at least, as this is a rapidly evolving situation as all summertime days really can be here, as we're looking toward the months of June, July especially, but even parts of May, parts of August there as well, as you have these storms get going. We were talking about it earlier in the coverage and posting about it earlier as well, that we thought these storms could be a little more powerful today, a little more of a day to watch the radar, watch things, and that's exactly what we're dealing with here this afternoon now, starting to get toward that rush hour commute. So let me go ahead and jump back on over to the broad view. We have the one warning in play right now. Just continuing with the coverage here, tracking things on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch for everybody at home. Just trying to give you guys the latest information here to protect you, your friends, and your family. As again, a nasty signature was showing up on that storm there in Alachua County and across Creek. It was well defined. At this point, the rotation at least is not enough. It doesn't look like, according to the Weather Service and me, to support a tornado, but still, we've seen some rotational signatures there, and that indicates at least a more significant type of storm for this time of year, a little more powerful here for sure. As we go ahead and look at the current echo tops on our other mode, let me go ahead and pop this up right now. Let me go ahead and go on over here. You see around between about Lochloosa and Micanopy, 46,000 feet here. As we're looking there just west and even near US 301, just to the west really of 301 is where the worst of this is, between, as I was alluding to earlier, between 75, Interstate 75 and US 301. So just gotta continue here to watch things when you have this severe thunderstorm warning in play. I mean, as I've talked about this time of year, a lot of these storms really you just use that thunder to go inside. Though this one actually a little more of a significant severe thunderstorm in my opinion. Hopefully it wasn't reaching, but we'll check the power outage numbers in a second to see here. Hopefully it wasn't as nasty as it looked on radar. But again, you have to just kind of treat some of these storms here with a little more seriousness because of some of those radar patterns that you'll see there, the reflectivity pattern from the KJAX site there in Jacksonville. So let me go ahead and check our power outage information. I'm going to refresh some of this now to see what's going on here. We're not seeing too much in Alachua, but let me go ahead and pop this up. We have a few different things I want to focus on here. Let me go ahead and say this. This is from 445, so you got to factor in not all of the storm may be covered in this time frame with the outages being reported, and then also a more rural area may be harder to get the reports out of. But Alachua County, 67 customers were out power there, and you can see Lake County there's 6, but Marion County 965, and then Flagler we had the storms earlier in Flagler County 1,435 customers in the dark. Going over to Dixie County 140, Suwannee County 120 customers, Hamilton County 16 customers. So just got to continue to watch things. I know we're watching a whole bunch of stuff for you here in the Weather Center. I'm going to go ahead and check right now, get an update on that baseball game. I know some folks are interested in that University of Florida versus Oklahoma baseball game there in Gainesville. They're still in a weather delay down toward Alachua County. So we're going to continue to check on that here, continue to get the latest scans in, and just see what's going on. You see right there near the University of Florida, still a little bit of lightning showing up as we look up toward the north. There's no warning here, so let me take that super off because I don't want to confuse anybody here as the warning to the south. But you can see here we are seeing some nasty weather there. As we get in, I'm going to try to see exactly what the topography looks like. There's the university right there, and you can see they're really still in that range where we're getting some rain, and then still close enough here to delay things. But we'll go ahead and zoom back out right now. The time is 5:01. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. Just getting a new significant weather advisory now for parts of Bradford, Alachua, Columbia, and Union. It'll be for this storm right here, I think. Another beep, and they're still continuing that storm to the south, by the way, with the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's check this one, though, near Worthington Springs and Santa Fe. There's a significant weather advisory. I assume it's for this storm. We're actually seeing a little bit of weak rotation in this now. Not as tight as what we were seeing on the other storm. Not enough for a severe thunderstorm warning yet, but we're seeing a little bit of wind enhancement here around Worthington Springs and Santa Fe. Right now, it's not really matching up that good within the radar echoes, but still could have winds there in that strong storm range. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Let's get back to the south. You heard a new beep there. New update on this warning. At 5:01, this air storm is still located near Cross Creek, or 9 miles west of Citra, moving southwest at 10 miles an hour. So very slow mover there. Cross Creek, Rochelle, Micanopy, Reddick, McIntosh, Flemington, Lowell, and Lochloosa here under this warning. So again, watching things carefully. It doesn't look as well defined as it did, but you still heard the beep. There's still weak rotation holding on here for a fairly good bit of time for this time of year. Granted, we are up at 6,000 feet, but it's something that's noteworthy for sure as we continue to watch some of these latest scans, look at correlation coefficient. Didn't really see anything there, maybe a little something, but you can't really know this time of year and this type of pattern this far up on the radar scan. So we're going to go ahead and continue to watch here. Alachua County, that storm meeting us there near that baseball game that's in that delay. You see up to the north here. I know some things have been a little delayed coming through today, but this is a storm I believe that has that significant weather advisory. I'll go ahead and click on it on my other computer actually, just to verify, but that has to be what it is. So it's near Worthington Springs, moving south there at 10 miles an hour. Lake Butler, Worthington Springs, Alachua, Worthington Springs, Groves, Providence, Beasley, New River, Upland Pines, and Sampson under this advisory. So a 40-mile-an-hour wind, 0.25 inch size hail possible there. But no warning yet. It could be a candidate for one in a little bit, though. We'll just have to wait and see it, monitor how things come together. But back down to the south here, we're looking toward areas there, again, around, it looks like there, the Cross Creek community, nickel-sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible here in this area. As this is also going to torrential rainfall producer in the last hour. That purple here on this 1 hour rainfall estimate source shows about 2 inches has fallen. The red about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, depending on what type of red you're looking at. And that's kind of an indication here of how prolific this has been as a rainfall producer. So, again, continuing our coverage. Things looking more disorganized down there now. As you do see that box there with the advisory to the north. And then you can see here the other advisory to the further up, advisory at the coast. Yeah, we have a bunch of strong storms around for sure. I mean, there's tons of strong storms. We have one there. I mean, I'm on the edge of the radars for this, but I'll just go ahead and mention it while we have the advisories up, and I'll turn the radar off just for a second to help us make sure you're not getting confused and thinking things are weaker than they are. But we have so many advisories on the board right now for strong storms. Wind gusts up to 50 there toward areas there around Wiggum in Grady County, toward Leon and Gadsden. We're talking about winds in excess there. It looks like of about, and it's having trouble actually picking up on this. They gave us an update, 40 miles an hour there. McCulloch County to Crawfordville winds potentially in excess of 40. Another storm there, winds in excess of 40 as we get up toward areas there around Enigma in South Georgia. You have an area here that we've talked about that had the warning earlier, but now winds in excess of 40 possible. Jasper, Jennings, White Springs, Fargo, Staytonville, McClinney, Glen St. Mary, as well as Winfield. And then we have the storm here in Union and Bradford. The other storm there toward parts of eastern Camden County. That's a strong storm. And then the severe warning that we jumped on for because we were seeing that such an apparent signature here within the radar. It still continues. It is definitely getting weaker, though. I doubt they're going to extend this warning at this point. We just have to continue to watch, though. But 9 miles west of Citra, or near Cross Creek, moving southwest at 10. And in fact, they have this expired warning definitely weakening on out. And there's a new advisory popping up for this area. Winds in excess of 40 miles an hour possible. So definitely weakening on out there now. That's the good news. Things pop up quick, ramp down quick in this environment. But we're talking about Ocala, Rainbow Lakes Estates, Interlochen, Fort McCoy, Citra, Hawthorne, Spar, Cross Creek, Orange Springs, and Ocala Airport under that advisory. This storm to the north here could be one to watch. If it kind of gets caught up here, maybe it doesn't mature enough here to become severe, or maybe things really come together. You just never know this time of year. There's all sorts of different factors in play that can kind of have an effect on things. But strong storm there nonetheless in toward parts of southwestern Bradford County now. We'll continue to watch that here. It is moving right now south at 10 according to the Weather Service, but things can be kind of have that random movement to them here. They definitely can have that random movement as we look around the area here. You see, by the way, a storm in Levy County. It's on the edge of some things, but a little bit of enhancement there as we get here west of Morriston around Gulf Hammocks. So got to continue to watch the radar, but with no warnings currently in effect right now, we're going to go ahead and start to wrap it up. I am going to check power outage numbers one more time to see if we've seen an increase in those outage numbers as we get towards some of our different spots here. But you see the temperatures right now in the area, 84 toward Keystone, 73 toward Gainesville. You kind of get the idea where some of these areas that have seen the rain have been. versus spots that could still theoretically have more storm in it. That's a little more on the robust side. You see Albany there, they always read hot, but 93 degrees there in parts of Dougherty County. As we look at the surface-based Cape values here, over 3,000 joules per kilogram, still apparent as you saw. I mean, you could really see it. I mean, even areas there in that higher range of that 3 to 4,000 joules per kilogram there on the scale. So something to watch. We're continuing to track it all for you here in the Weather Center. I know there's storms even down toward east central Florida here that are strong to severe. See a warning there for parts of Brevard County. Near Merritt Island, some nasty acts in city of Melbourne there, reporting the intersection on McClendon Street and Still Street's closed due to flooding. They're having to pump water from the area, so definitely some nasty weather even down there toward east central Florida this afternoon as we head toward the evening hours. And real quick, I'm going to get those power outage numbers up here, try to get a gauge on what's going on, just kind of see what's happening here. To make sure we're not missing anything, because that's important here this time of year and in this environment. Things can change rapidly on us, and we just have to kind of stay aware of that. So 8,311 customers in the dark. Surprisingly, we haven't seen that much of a ramp up in Alachua. Granted, it's a rural area, and we may not have all the customers being tracked there on this source, but 504 here, you see 870 customers in Marion in the dark, 170 in Alachua. And then over 1,000 still in Flagler County. There's more population density there in toward that area, so that can have a factor, play a factor in things. And I'm reading in here in the chat, fairly dramatic weakening trend in most storms at the moment, but isolated strong storms over inland Florida, northeast Florida, I mean, will continue through at least 6 p.m. So we're going to continue to watch things here in the Weather Center, but with Weather Service talking about the storms are all of a sudden kind of weakening off for now. Maybe we'll get lucky, we'll have to come back on, but you just never know in this situation. Just got to keep our eyes on things. Now, let me real quick here. I'm going to pull off everything, and we're going to go ahead and look at the model guidance. This is going to be from earlier. I was looking, this is what things could have been earlier on. So I'm going to get that ready. Let me pull it up on our other source to the Doppler currently first, because I want to make sure I get this up to the right viewpoint for everybody. I don't want to confuse anybody out there at home with the modeling, and models aren't always going to be perfect here, but we're going to, and they're not doing a good job at all. That's terrible. Wow. That's, I mean, not even showing anything hardly in Alachua or Marion, so I will show it to you, but take it with a grain of salt here. This is not performing good at all, to be quite honest. I mean, this is what it's supposed to look like right now, and this is what the radar actually looks like. It is off by a pretty good margin, but let's just go ahead and play it out to see what happens here. This is supposed to be 5 o'clock here, so 6 o'clock. Looks like things might be ahead of schedule a little bit in the formation, because you see how things, I mean, this is supposed to be 8, 9 o'clock tonight and then falling apart. So we'll see. Maybe we have a little bit of a strengthening again. You never know, but we'll just continue to watch here, continue to track the situation here in the Weather Center. Let me go ahead and pull up everything that we have with our live information, though. Just make sure we're not missing anything here in the coverage, as things can rapidly evolve on us. We still have that marginal risk in play. You can see slight risk to the north there. Even a split thunderstorm watch up toward parts of Kentucky and Indiana. Another one in toward parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, and Wyoming, and a third in parts of Colorado, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So just have to continue to kind of watch things here in the Weather Center. We'll continue to do that here with our local threats and beyond if necessary. There's your satellite, by the way. Kind of helps us here get an indication of what's going on. And we'll be back again if necessary. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me to protect you, your friends, and your family for now. Maybe we'll get lucky, don't have to come back on, but we're going to watch things here for you in the Weather Center. And when we're not on the air, make sure to go to cloudweather.com/radar for an interactive look at things, to kind of zoom in on some of this action and get a gauge on how strong or severe it could be. I know right now no warnings here, but down toward Brevard County, watching some stuff there, in East Central Florida, and then even Broward and Palm Beach County, I see a new warning popped up there. So things happening across the state, and across our local area, we'll be keeping you up to date as needed.